This is actually my third video about Final Fantasy VII Remake. So where are the other two? Well, the first is on a secret channel I will not give you the name of, and the other was actually the first video I uploaded to this channel, but I decided to private it. But why? Well, because I hate both of them. Not because I think they're bad. If I'm being honest, I think they are actually pretty okay videos, and I do not regret making them in the slightest. I just don't think they accurately conveyed the full force of my feelings about this game. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a game surrounded by a decent amount of controversy, stemming from Square deciding to split up the original story into 3 separate games. Remake is the first act, a 5 to 7 hour intro portion of the original stretched into a 30-hour game rivaling the length of the game it is remaking. Yikes, right? To make matters worse, they changed the gameplay identity over to more of an action game rather than a traditional turn-based JRPG. And then the greatest sin of them all, to make matters the worst they could have ever been, they changed the classic story, promising that it would not go the same way it did back in 1997. People, I think, were rightfully upset, especially with this game being advertised as a remake. I mean, remake's right in the title, look at it. I remember knowing nothing about FF7 at all and watching Video Game Donkey's review on it. I remember him absolutely laying into it, talking about the nonsensical story changes, the cringe anime dialogue, and the ridiculous amount of filler added to pad runtime. I also remember writing it off completely from that one video. It felt like it was millions of things I hated all wrapped into one video game. I despised it despite never even doing more research or playing it for myself. Some years passed, I was watching Summer Games Fest 2023 and the grand finale was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Remake sequel. First time I watched the trailer, I said, okay, we're really gonna end with this trash, huh? And after the show, I decided to make a not E3 roundup on that super secret channel I still won't tell you about, and I stumbled across that trailer again, and I watched it all the way through, again and again and again. Am I really gonna fall for this? Get swept up in the hype to play a game I know I won't like? Well, my PS Plus subscription is running out in a month anyways. Fuck it. Here we go. If you couldn't already tell from this channel's PFP, I absolutely loved it. Straight from the jump, with this intro, the music egged me on towards adventure, to resist against the Shinra Electric Power Company by any means necessary. The combat was a beautiful mix of JRPG turn-based influence and the modern trend of turning every franchise into a third-person action adventure. The graphics, the animations, the music again because it's just that damn good. The entire vibe was filled with so much whimsical charm. I couldn't help but be enthralled. I loved everything. Except the dialogue. I hate to use this word now because it's been diluted to mean nothing, but I found it just so cringy at first. I was not gonna let this cornball video game with its dumb characters carve its way into my brain and make me care. I'm a grown man, goddammit. I play real games, like God of War or Mass Effect. I would never fall for this childish nonsense. Oh shit, a flower, how nice. She's pretty nice too. I wonder what her deal is. She got a cool little outfit. Okay, and now what the hell are these things? And why the hell was everything on fire earlier? Why is this a silver-haired man who's kind of sexy harassing me? And why has Cloud been schizophrenic for this first hour and a half? Why is he not being nice to Tifa, that absolute bastard? I mean, look at her. And he really needs to start getting along with Barrett if they're actually going to try to take down Shinra. Wait, what's happening?
So?
Leave me alone!
This game broke me down. It brought me back to my own reality. I'm a big, dumb, professional cornball nerd, and there's no acting cool or like a macho man when it comes to that. If you really want to know how deep it can go, I gave a 5-minute unscripted speech on how much I love Star Wars back in 8th grade. And yes, there were plenty of girls there. Blood, I didn't go to homecoming, so I could do the GTA 5 Doomsday heists. I play Warhammer games, who am I trying to fool? So yeah, at the beginning, I tried my best to resist the characters, the world, the story, but by like hour 2 or 3, I couldn't stop my own nature. This is easily one of the silliest, corniest, most anime-inspired games I have ever played, and I loved it all the way through. Even through the damn padding, awkward moments, and boring side quests. Unlike you, no game is ever perfect, and Remake's problems mainly stem from having to prolong the Midgar portion into its own lengthy adventure. The main story padding is what I would call Last of Us Part 2 territory, where traveling between the actual important story beats are their own levels. Going from the slums into a subway to a Mako reactor, going from the wall market into the sewers to get back to the slums. There may also be a train graveyard in between those two, but you get the point. There are some exceptions. But for now, let's focus on the other new type of content, the side missions. Along with the trend to turn every franchise into an action-adventure game, every game must also now have some sort of side content to chew on. Remake side content mainly consists of side missions, with some other stuff in between, but mainly it's those busy work side quests. I feel like they don't do much for the actual world building or lore, and yet they seem to contain way too much dialogue from the NPCs for the objective to just be, hey you spiky-haired moron, go kill 3 rats. And while I already said I learned to love the story and dialogue, it certainly still has its share of awkward moments that don't really work the best. Prime example is all the anime moaning in here like shut up, please, damn.
Just bear with him for me, would you?
Yeah. Should have asked for more money.
Now some of you sickos might like hearing these characters moan in between every word, but me personally it's just stupid and distracting. I'm not going to say no one talks like this as an argument because I'm playing a video game set in a fantasy world that was 100% not real, but in a game where filler is a problem, adding filler moans between sentences is kinda whack. Another symptom of the Hobbit formula here is that the main story beats from the original have much more meat to them, but sometimes when you got more meat, you gotta deal with more fat. Does that sound crazy to say? Now here it is nowhere near every original scene, but some of them certainly got a little too much seasoning now. Like one scene in particular where there's a massive sense of urgency and an in-lore time limit, the game has my character dilly-dallying and forced walking for artificial dramatic effect. And it didn't even need it. The scene itself, the stakes that were present were intense anyways. I get wanting to really improve on the drama you established in the original with the better technology of today, but a few times they just take it a tad too far. And I think that statement sums up most of my issues here. They just felt the need to take things a tad too far. I'm not really against the trilogy idea, but this game also doesn't need to be as long as it is. Even if they just trimmed 2 to 3 hours, it would already be a much cleaner experience. However, I don't really know how to put this, but I really just don't care about any of this. I acknowledge that these are issues present in the game, but at the end of the day when I play it, I don't really care. Now this certainly won't apply to everyone, but through my entire first playthrough, I never really blinked twice at most of the padding. I still did all the side quests. Even here with this footage from my 3rd playthrough, I had a great time through every level, and once again I did every side quest. Plus I even kinda like some of the later ones now. So what causes this? Am I diseased? Do I enjoy suffering? Am I a corporate slop apologist? No, at least I don't think so, but you can call me whatever you want. I think I just love the core offerings of the gameplay and the story so much that even when this game is at its lowest, it still feels so incredible to experience. Sewer levels really aren't so bad with combat like this. Now, some might say massive copium, but every single fight in this game feels so damn good to play. Cloud is out here countering with the sexiest sword ever made. Barrett has a literal WMD on his arm. Aerith got all these smooth ass magic combos that remind me a little bit of Dragon Age 2. And Tifa legit punches robots to death. They all use the same basic control scheme, yet it just hit me this playthrough just how varied they feel to play. It reminds me a little bit of a fighting game, just nowhere near the combo complexity, which in the case of my chimp brain works perfectly fine. I certainly haven't played a party-based action adventure RPG that does anything close to this. Also, random side note, I'm in a Marvel Rivals mood. But legit Square, the blueprint for a successful Avengers game was right here in the same E3 showcase. Anyways, I also mentioned way earlier that this game kind of combines JRPG turn-based influence with action combat, which really tickles my fancy. My main problem with most turn-based systems is the downtime between turns where your characters just kind of have to look up in horror as Gigamax the Universe Gobbler hits them with a galaxy-shattering move. My main problem with most modern action-style games is that they require half a brain to be decent at. It's all reflex, no thought. My granny could beat Final Fantasy 16. Well, my beautiful friends, that's where the balance of the system really gets me going. The downtime is replaced with the action. You can dodge, block, do some cool looking filler attacks to build up ATB. Once ATB is ready and it's your turn, so to speak, I appreciate the strategic turn-based combat taking over to unleash a variety of moves, spells, items, etc. that actually change the tide of the battle. It's just enough of each to make me feel like a little monkey brain badass and an intelligent, refined gentleman. Just Square, for the love of God, please make hard mode available from the start of the game. Normal mode isn't piss easy baby mode, but since there are 3 party members, it's extremely hard to get full party wiped and fully get a game over screen. But man, despite that, when this game starts firing on all cylinders with the boss fights, I don't think it can be sniffed by anything other than the works of the great sadist king himself. The aerial combat is unfinished and blows hot ass though. I haven't even reached my favorite part yet. I wish I could get down on one knee and marry the inventor of the materia system. It all started with me saying, what the hell is this anime power orb nonsense, and now it might be my favorite build system ever. There are just so many options from spells, passives, new abilities, boosters, and it's so flexible. I'm an indecisive bastard, so having the option to always change the builds for my characters is simply game changing. I like having to adapt to combat scenarios rather than staying entirely rigid for an entire playthrough. I said entirely there because the characters still have somewhat rigid roles. Aerith is still the wizard, Tifa is still the monk, Barret is still the tank, and Cloud is still the cliche balanced good at everything main character. But being able to tweak within these roles by making Tifa's punches infused with elemental magic or making Cloud my primary mage when Aerith isn't around is pretty awesome. And the fact I can try so many different weapon builds in one playthrough without losing any progress on other weapons makes my chimp brain run wild with delusions of limitless freedom. It is also just plain impressive how well it made the leap from 1997 to modern day. It was the best gameplay system in that game, and it is the best gameplay system in this game. But I wouldn't say it's the overall best aspect of either. That is reserved for the characters. For those uninitiated with the context around this classic, Final Fantasy VII is a story about the most attractive people on the planet teaming up to save it from an evil megacorporation and the most handsome, hottest man ever crafted for a video game. Along the way, they go to a bunch of wacky places around the world where they discover who they are through trials and tribulation. Remake recreates the first section of the game, which takes place entirely in the city of Midgar, which is a giant elevated pizza that poor people live underneath. And no, I'm not a fat ass for thinking it looks like a pizza, which it does. The game literally describes it that way on its own. Midgar is powered by Mako energy sucked up from the planet by a bunch of reactors created by the Shinra Electric Power Company, and just like every mega corporation in real life, they do a lot more than what their name or motto suggests. This use of Mako energy is slowly killing the planet, and our protagonist, the mercenary Cloud Strife, joins up with a group called Avalanche to stand up to Shinra in hopes of saving the planet from their deadly resource extraction. And how do they do that? Simple. Eco-terrorism.
Whoa!
I know I should have done that context way earlier in the video, but like this game, my storytelling pace is inconsistent and most likely it's gonna be the main turnoff for most newcomers. I was also going to make an extremely edgy joke about eco, the thing I talked about earlier, but after consulting the often ignored voice of reason in my head, I will say this instead. For being called eco-terrorists by the powers that be of this world, this group of characters is easily my favorite video game party ever. Period. It's not even close when I think about it. And yes, I said earlier I played Mass Effect. It's not close. Sorry, Garrus. Barret is just higher on the video game best bro tier list than you. Now, before I deep dive into story here, I want to say the same thing I said in my Disco Elysium video. I'm by no means a writer. I don't know how to actually break down well-written dialogue and story beats. I'm just more of a vibes-based creature, and the vibes here are simply immaculate. Final Fantasy VII is a story that covers an absolute ass ton of themes, but the one that always sticks out in my head, especially in this first game here, is that appearance doesn't always tell the entire story about a person. This is not just limited to Cloud either. The other three main party members have much more to them than meets the eye. Cloud tries to be a badass, but why is he so schizophrenic all the time? When first meeting Tifa, she puts on this very bubbly, all is good in the world appearance, and not much later, even Cloud's stupid ass can see through the cracks. Barret puts on the appearance of the stalwart, badass, no-nonsense leader of Avalanche, and I can confidently say by the end of the game, he is easily the most emotional member of the group. And I think Aerith's would be a bit too spoilery for this type of video. And yes, I know, the actual story is over 20 years old at this point, and this game is over 4 years old now, but to me, so much of the magic of both the original and the remake is discovering the real meat of everything for yourself, for the first time, not just what I've spoiled in this video. I know that doesn't really add up, but it's fine. The original is an incredible globe-trotting journey through a vibrant world, and while Remake is only the beginning of that journey, it contains by far the best renditions and scenes of these characters. Even though this is just a fraction of the full story, the fact that each of the main four goes through a unique character arc by the end is impressive to me. The one arc I love the most, though, is their combined character arc, the journey of each lovable character coming together to become a team that must answer the call to save the world. But maybe even more than that, the journey of coming together to become a group of believable and seemingly real friends.
I don't say this lightly, like, it's beautiful prose.
There are plenty of awesome missions just like the intro, but some of my favorite standout moments are the slow, character-driven ones. Hanging out with Tifa in 7th Heaven, walking across the rooftops with Aerith, hell, even some of the longer filler scenes had some good shit. The first one that comes to mind there is the collapsed tunnel. It has an out-of-place robot hand puzzle that kinda kills the pace, but it also makes way for one of the best interactions in the game between Cloud and Aerith. What I'm trying to get at here with all of this character talk is that they are truly the heart and soul of this game. How much you will be into the world, the story, hell, even the combat and boss fights will greatly depend on how much you vibe with this cast of lovable clowns. My personal investment into these virtual weirdos brought this game to the next level. Fighting bosses was awesome on their own, but as corny as it is to say, I really felt every swing of that sword because I was fighting with characters I had grown to really love, and I felt the stakes. And now just making this video, I find myself asking more and more what is truly corny or cringy that I found before. I know I mentioned it earlier when talking about my first experience, but just trying to find clips of dialogue or scenes I found cringe was damn near impossible now. I was looking at cutscenes and said, well, damn, that just seems normal. I know at least half the dialogue in the game now.
Damn straight I do. Get help.
Now it all just feels so sincere. I just recently watched this video I'll put on screen, and it really resonated with me when talking about stories in popular media now. So many stories seem to be obsessed with ironic storytelling and almost teasing people at how ridiculous and stupid the stuff they like is. I don't think I realized how much consuming movies and games like that really affected my love for gloriously dumb nerd shit like this game. I've said it a million times at this point, this game can get extremely goofy, unserious, but it can also pivot on a dime at some points to take what is going on in the story extremely seriously. It is tonal whiplash, but the events going on always still feel real to the world they are happening in. It feels real to the people actually living it, so it feels refreshingly genuine to me. Once I actually let my guard down, I found much of the dialogue to be some of the best I've heard in years. Some of it was even funny, and not, oh, it's funny because it's so bad. No, there's actually solid comedic moments, which honestly I don't think really happens in video games. And I mean hilarious, like not player input based, like doing funny glitches or like funny stuff in a multiplayer game. That's not included in that. It certainly has some self-aware humor, but it's usually at the expense of the characters in the world, usually Cloud. It's not breaking the fourth wall to tell you for the billionth time how wacky all of the stuff going on is. Since it stays true to itself and doesn't undermine the actual stakes it establishes with the plot, when it turns serious, it does not feel out of place to me. And I think those emotional crescendos when it really hits all of the characters that we've seen so goofy and happy before, when shit gets real, those might just be the best parts. Although I'm not sure all the people who played this game would say it stays true to itself.
Help me!
I've been avoiding it for as long as I can. I pretty much avoided it entirely in the other two videos that were both longer than this one. What can I say? I'm a non-confrontational type of guy. They changed the classic story from the original, adding some new twists and turns with promises of more changes to come in the later installments. Although in my opinion, like 90% of this game still follows pretty much the same path as the original. And now with the glory of hindsight, after playing this game's sequel, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it's the same in that game as well. Throughout my time as a fan and before being a fan of this game, I have seen plenty of somewhat toxic discourse about the changes that they made all around the internet because I have way too much time on my hands. And the truth is, it's kind of scary to take on controversial topics, even on a YouTube channel with less than 50 subs. The internet and its citizens can be an unforgiving realm. But since I made those other two videos, something has changed. I went outside, and then I quit Twitter because 95% of that user base is either a hateful mega loser or an AI corn bot. I realized most of YouTube, especially the side I'm on, gaming related, and its inhabitants are enclosed into a massive bubble talking about things that have no real bearing on their personalities or real life way too seriously. This video and others you watched, they might not even be real. I am nothing but a disembodied voice playing out of your phone/computer telling you my perspective about a Final Fantasy game. For all you know, I don't exist and nobody you've ever seen a comment from or a video has existed in your actual real existence as a human being. It is time to open your eyes.
Wake up! Wake up!
I honestly don't even know why I'm crashing out like this at this point. This game is pretty well received and the majority of people like it. And even if I did share my opinion on the story changes, what does that accomplish in the grand scheme of my thoughts of this video game? No matter what, I still think this game deserves to be tried by everyone at least once. There are so many things I didn't even touch on in this video that I absolutely love and deserve more spotlight than what I will give them right now. All of the minigames are pretty rad, the squats one especially is peak gaming. The world itself is so enticing to me. We only see Midgar in this one, but the mix of steampunk with just a little bit of fantasy weirdness makes it so special in my eyes. The combat challenges are all nice distractions. I actually found the later side quests much better this playthrough, and that's mainly because they have less of the boring dialogue. They still aren't anything special, but at least they waste less time on stupid shit and more time introducing cool new enemies to fight. The music, oh my god, the music. 8.5 hours of music for a 30-hour game, and there are no misses. Legit, my Spotify rap for last year was Frank Ocean, Vince Staples, Kung Fu Kenny, and then right at the top, it wasn't even close, is this glorious man right here. Then you got the DLC that comes bundled in with most versions now. Oh my lord. Another 5 to 8 hours of content that, in my opinion, might just be the best in the game. And it will for sure get its own video one day once I replay it. The waifu dating sim portion of the game, where you have to make the most difficult choice ever in a video game to choose between Tifa or Aerith, or the base third option. Yeah, I definitely got some of you guys interested now, huh? The main reason I actually still do those early side quests is to influence this mechanic and see the bonus character cutscenes, because in my opinion, they are essential. I think what I'm trying to get at here is that I understand it now. I didn't really want to talk about the story changes back then and now because I don't think they're very consequential to my overall experience. I think even in an alternate reality where the evil version of myself doesn't like the story changes in this game, I think even that evil version of myself would still think this game is at least good. I said that I don't really care thing earlier, more as a joke. I will reiterate that those issues I listed before are much more objective in my view than one's opinions on if story changes in a remake of a 20-year-old game are a good idea. And obviously the changes debate goes much deeper than that, you know, if they are actually even good. By far the biggest downside for me is I can't say comfortably within the context of this game, and even with the hindsight of playing Rebirth now, that the story changes gamble has paid off yet. They're leaving a lot of the opinion on this aspect of the trilogy entirely on part 3, and I don't really think I like that. But I will say, I like the idea of it. As a first-time Final Fantasy player, the changes did make the story more confusing, no doubt about it. But in a weird good way for me, I was extremely intrigued at all the plot threads being held in front of my face with no concrete answers. Knowing this was simply the first part of 3, I was excited to see what they do with this confusing shit they put in front of me. It also gave me no hesitation to go back to play the original. I would say about 90% of this game still follows that original plot thread, but knowing that things won't go the exact same way, it made me want to experience the classic original as it was in 1997, or as close as you can get with the Steam version. I guess I just see it as a fascinating approach to retell a story while not completely trying to erase the original for a new audience. And for vets who enjoyed the new approach, then it gives them something to get excited about for next installments. So, yeah.
I liked it.
So now that I have spent 20 plus minutes explaining my unconditional love for this game, I shall now turn on Video Game Donkey. Just kidding, I still love his video. I think it's funny and it does a good job of showing why his criticisms are valid from his perspective. In fact, I actually like watching a lot of the videos that kill this game with hammers. They test my own faith a bit, then I play the game again and reaffirm my own love for it. I guess I just have to make sure that it is truly real. However, my love for this game does not excuse me to go harass all the other hot boys and gamer girls out there that don't like it. I know that sounds pretentious to say, but I remember when Donkey's video came out, fans of the game absolutely tore into him with some of the usual insecure loser activity that infects the internet. I'm all for letting people enjoy things as I enjoyed this, but it's also okay to let people dislike things. When someone points out flaws with something you like or expresses their personal criticisms of it, it is not a personal indictment of you as a human being. Unless they take it to that level first, then just deprive them of the attention that those sad people seek desperately. You just can't get lost in the sauce here. At the end of the day, it's fun to talk about and debate video games because they are fun pieces of entertainment. It stops being fun when supreme cockmunchers on both sides of arguments are insecure in their enjoyment or dislikes of things like I was. I talked about it earlier, but in all honesty, getting disconnected from almost all social media really helped clear my head. It's better to be truthful to yourself than to let some random neckbeard schmucks on Reddit dissuade you of your opinion. And that kind of includes me, by the way. However, I will say, have higher expectations for yourself when it comes to all the media you consume. It's still okay to like delicious garbage like X-Men Origins Wolverine, as long as you acknowledge that it is ass. But respectfully, we cannot have grown adults out here saying Red 1 is one of their favorite movies. I know it sounds a bit hollow for me to say that because the only 2 videos on this channel now are extremely positive critiques of games, but trust me, I can let the beast out if needed. When I eventually make a Final Fantasy 16 video, you will see what a true hater looks like. Now, to end this video, because this hoe is getting long, I just want to say that this was a nice cathartic experience. Despite the questionable business decisions and shortcomings, I truly do love this game with all my being, and I'm not afraid to say it anymore. I think despite the fact that this is a AAA video game made in the 2020s, I can still feel the passion and heart poured into this by the actual developers making it. Yes, I know that the Square Enix higher-ups would throw me into a wood chipper for a 0.01% stock increase, but the game feels like one made by passionate devs who were allowed to make a remake how they wanted to, flaws included. In all honesty, I haven't felt a truly magical single-player experience this generation except for Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk 2077, which will get its own video probably in 10 years. In an age of AAA slop, I truly deep down do not believe that this game falls into that category. So much here from the combat, characters, music, animation, set pieces, boss fights, all of that shit proves to me that this game is worth enjoying. Okay, I'm done now. I said for now because there will be more Final Fantasy VII videos for sure on this channel. Oh my god, I just realized the Rebirth video is gonna be like 5 hours.